Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, with this war in Ukraine and COVID-19 and inflation up and gas prices up and lots of stuff going on in everyone else's life, wondering whether we're going to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And I recently got COVID after 2.5 years or 2 years of trying to play it safe, socially distance and wearing a mask and stuff like this. I still got COVID. And so, it's a strange world that we live in. And so I thought we'd reach out to someone who I really respect, Maria Fudas. She's an author, a certified assertiveness transformational coach and speaker. She's written a book about connect with yourself and others. It's all about self-love and love with others. And she's really all about aligning with love and success. And I wanted to connect up with her to talk about how we sort of have a positive attitude with all this turmoil going on in the world. Maria, how are you today?
Good. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy speaking with you. And thanks for the great introduction.
Thank you. So tell me, how do you deal? What's your recommendation to people that are dealing with all this anxiety and angst and stuff going on?
Yeah, the first thing I tell my clients and everybody that asks me, I try to kind of get into the psyche and see why all that is created. So one of the tools that I use is a great Einstein quote. And he says, the most important decision you will make is whether you believe you live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe.
A hostile universe or a friendly universe?
Yeah, or a friendly universe.
And that's a decision you got to make. It's not something that... Really? A decision?
Exactly. So he says it's a decision, right? So you either make a decision, and it's funny, when I ask the clients, usually they say, well, I know what you want me to say, but I think we live in a hostile universe because they're afraid to say it when they go really down inside. But it's an important decision. And then you have to kind of get the perspective to see the friendly universe, because we don't live in a hostile universe. For every one bad person or one Putin, we have how many humanitarian people helping? And that's the perspective you have to focus on in order to, what the main goal is with my program and in my book and just in general in life is all about achieving love and peace from the inside out. And that's
it's amazing. I interviewed yesterday the mayor of a small town in Western Ukraine and his wife, who's from Mississauga, which is really interesting. And they were very happy and obviously, incredibly upset about the attack on Ukraine and what was happening to their countrymen. But they said, they've never had a more unified country, a more unified population, a more motivated, inspired population that wanted to help, and never had a better feeling of people coming together with empathy for others and love for others and help for others. And so that's that old line about, when stuff happens, bad stuff happens, people come together.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you have to focus on. You have to focus on the new perspective instead of, and it's like, I'm going to go back to the decision because that's very important. People think, oh yeah, okay, we live in a friendly universe, but it's a decision. You have to actually say yes and believe it. Say, yeah, we have, and then force yourself. I use the word mesicize I came up with because everybody knows about exercise. We all exercise our bodies and we go to the gym and everybody's into that and all this new stuff. But no, everybody forgets to kind of go internally. And it made a word mesicize. The word mesa means inside, as per the word exercise. Exo means outside in Greek. So mesicize means people forget to go internally and also mesicize, exercise your within, your subconscious, because people also forget that 90% of how we act and react is out of subconscious. It's only 10% that's conscious. So internalize, mesicize, go within and see why you're thinking, why you're afraid, why you're allowing fear to rule you instead of going back into your homeostasis, which is love and peace. And it's almost like a thermometer. You have to remember to bring yourself back into that love and peace in order to feel from the inside. So the way I say it is, as soon as you feel activated, and you're going to feel it because you're going to feel your sympathetic nervous system activated, and you're going to feel three things. You're going to feel either fight, flight, or freeze. And you're going to feel it in your head, your heart, your stomach, and you're going to feel either the butterflies or your heart pounding. And that's instantly a note. Your body is your authentic self. I call it your authentic self, but your authentic self through your body is giving you a signal that at this point, you're not acting through your authentic self. You're not in homeostasis. So you need to catch yourself instantly. Pause, take 3 deep breaths and reflect, mesicize, and ask yourself, why is it that I'm activated right now? And then act and react. So
I guess
that's, go ahead.
I guess the key to your whole thesis, though, is that our homeostasis, which I presume means our level set, is love and peace. When I think a lot of people, their homeostasis is angst and anxiety, not love and peace.
Exactly, and that's what they forget. And I don't have to prove the point. It's very simple. Your homeostasis, when you're feeling good, when you're acting, because in reality, we're just love energy. That's what we are. And love energy is everything that has to do with peace, has to do with empathy, with compassion, with discernment, with forgiveness. That's when we feel good, when we help others. You'll note when you're angry, when you have revenge, or when you're hostile, when you're unforgiving, when you want revenge. That's really when you're not feeling good. But that's when you have anxiety or where your homeostasis. And you're right, homeostasis means to be in balance. Homo means man in Greek, and stasis means to be balanced. So it's to be in internal balance. And your body tells you, because that's where our homeostasis is. To be in balance, you have to act and react out of your love energy. And when you're not feeling that.
Go ahead.
And when you're not feeling that, that's when you have to instantly catch yourself. That's the first tool. And the more you do it, the more aware you do, the more awareness you have of it, the easier it will get. But awareness is key. Because like we said, 90% is activated from your sympathetic, 90% is out of your subconscious. So the awareness is key, because if you're not aware, then you're not going to act and react out of your love energy. You're instantly going to act and react. Your ego, which is what I call, which is your ego, which then triggers your fear instincts. Ego equals fear. And ego is the opposite of love, because our true energy is love. That's what we truly are. That's what our energy is. We're all energetic beings. But the ego is our false self. It's our body, with all and the ego comes in from all the, everything that we're taught, everything that we're seeing, everything that we see. So all the fears that are, whether it's the war, whether it's COVID, whether it's everything external, basically. So everything external is ego. And the ego is really a belief that you're alone. Ego in Greek means ego, which means one. So it's actually believing that you're alone and one in the universe, not recognizing that you're actually connected with everybody. We are one with everybody. So what happens is when you're acting out of ego, the fear is instantly triggered, because in reality, you're seeing yourself as this solitary person, instead of really connecting and recognizing that even if people are acting and reacting badly, you are still connected with them. So even though you can't control the way they act and react, you always have control of how you act and react in order to bring yourself back into homeostasis and to act and react through that love energy. And that's where you need to catch yourself instantly with awareness, because awareness is key.
So I guess the two things that I've got from this so far are, number one, you believe that our normal state, our homeostasis, the place that we want to be, is love and peace, when a lot of people are constantly in a different kind of state. And number two, that you think that that's primarily based on a decision as to whether you want to live in a good universe or a bad universe. And you quoted Einstein in that regard. And so it's like your comment that I've heard you talk about before, that you can manifest your reality. So it's a decision that you have to make about whether this is a positive universe or a negative universe. And I guess the third thing is that crap will happen. And, clearly in this world today, a lot of crap is happening. And what you're saying is you got to catch yourself and be aware and get yourself back into that state. We're talking with Maria Fudas today, a certified assertiveness coach, just a wonderful young lady. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more. And we're going to ask her how she ever got into this business and how does she actually believe what she talks, because it's such a positive attitude and positive energy. And I love chatting with Maria and learning all about what she believes. But how do I actually believe it? And how did she first come to believe it? Because, gosh, I wish I could be as positive and as has such a positive outlook on life as you do, Maria. We're going to take a break. Be back in 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest today is Maria Fudas, who is an author, a certified assertiveness, transformational coach, and speaker. And she's written a great book, and it's called Connect with Yourself and Others. Show us the book. It's right behind you there.
Yeah, it's right behind me, and it's Connect with Yourself and Others. And it's really all about, it's about relationships, how to better your relationships. But what people will get a little surprised in, it's really all about mastery, self-mastery. It's really about mastering yourself, because once you connect with yourself and you kind of bring yourself into homeostasis, what we're talking about, and in balance, then your connections, your other relationships will all align. So because we're the connection with everything, right? So once we fix ourselves, everything else will kind of align in a positive
You were kind
manner.
enough to give me a copy of your book, and I read it and underlined a whole bunch of parts of it. But it was interesting because so much of it really is self-love and connecting with yourself, which you think really is the precursor, the antecedent to connecting with others. Why do you think you have to connect with yourself and love yourself before you can love others?
Because Brian, what people don't recognize is that if you don't have the love within yourself, there's no way you could give it to someone else. And that's when people fail. They look elsewhere to fill that void of love. Because I'm going to use love, because love is peace. Once you have love, then you'll have peace. So love is the main, the core energy. So if you don't feel it within yourself, how are you going to give it to someone else? It's impossible. And that's where the error, where a lot of people err, because they don't feel it for themselves. They don't feel it, forget about for themselves. They don't feel it within themselves. They don't really, in a true biological way is what I'm saying. It's one thing to think it, but you have to feel it in a true essence where it's your biology. And if you don't feel it, it's impossible to give it out, because what we have inside is really what we give outside, what we attract outside, whether you go for manifestation. It's always internal. So what happens is when people don't feel the love within and they don't act and react out of love, they'll act out of codependency or out of need or to get something from someone. And then when you're doing that, you're not really authentic. So yeah, you'll be in relationships, you'll be in all that kind of stuff, but you'll always be attracted to the same kind of energy, those kind of people. And that's why a lot of the relationships don't work, because everybody's kind of looking for something and everybody's codependent, relying on someone else to make them happy instead of really truly.
What do you mean by codependent?
Codependent is exactly that, when people are relying on someone else to make them happy. So if I'm in a relationship, I'm looking for my husband or my boyfriend to make me happy. So if I'm not having a good day or I'm not really in a good mood, I'm waiting for him. So whether I'm waiting for him to buy me flowers or to say, Maria, you're beautiful, or come and take me out for dinner, or I become an endless pit where I can't make myself happy because I don't feel it within myself. So you're always relying, and it's subconsciously, right? It's not, people are not thinking of it logically. They're not thinking, oh, okay, I'm looking at somebody else to make me happy. It just happens in the way their relationships evolve and are. So but subconsciously, like we said, 90% of what we do is subconscious. Subconsciously, they're relying on the other person to make them happy. And that's impossible, because nobody can make you happy if you don't feel happy inside. Nobody can make you feel love if you don't feel the love inside. So to be successful, you have to feel full, basically. You have to have that homeostasis, have the love within, in order to be able to give it out to the other person authentically. Otherwise, it's not authentic. You're either looking for something or there's an agenda. And that's what happens with most people. Mind you, more and more people are getting awakened, more and more people are getting aware of this, and it's great, because hopefully this will become a better world. But like you said, the majority of people, a lot of people, still act out of their ego, which means out of fear-based thoughts. So a lot of the fear-based thoughts, when it comes internally, could be that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, or I don't have enough, and that afterwards comes outwards. Into these disempowering behaviors, which could be narcissistic, could be, like we said, codependent, relying on someone else. It could be having the fear of abandonment, because you always want somebody there. People that are always in relationships, so they want someone there all the time because they don't feel they could be alone. So this comes from not being adequate within yourself. And if you're not adequate within yourself, you're always going to be looking for it somewhere else. And the way to change it is with awareness. That's what people don't recognize. With awareness, because you need, yeah.
Sorry, but go on. I apologize.
Yeah, you need to activate that 10%, which is conscious, in order to change. Because everything else is 90% subconscious that we're acting and reacting.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit, because like you're so smart and you just go so quickly with so many different concepts. Narcissism. I've heard this word like so much lately, and I don't remember hearing it before. Like, is this just a new thing that everyone's focused on narcissism recently? Tell me what narcissism is and where it's come from, and why is it something that, on social media, people are talking about their husband was narcissistic. Like every day I read something like that.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize, first of all, that all disempowering behaviors come from subconscious, like I said. And that's where I want to talk a little bit afterwards, just to remember to use discernment and not judgment. And discernment means empathy and compassion instead of judgment, instead of judging, let's even a narcissistic person. So I'm not saying discernment doesn't mean you have to like them or condone them or hang out with them. It just means using discernment. And every single behavior that's disempowering, or that is whether it's codependent, whether it's people cheating on their spouses, sometimes if that happens, or whether it's narcissistic or whatever disempowering behavior, and we all have them. But if you're aware, then you're able to shift them and change them. So narcissistic, and you will take even Trump, right? He was a narcissist. But if you take even Trump, use him as a little example, because everybody knows him and everything is public with him. He had a lot of trauma in his life. So where I'm going to go with this, every single disempowering behavior comes from subconscious traumas that were created through childhood or even in adulthood, but it comes from anything that was created with emotion. So anything traumatic that was caused that caused emotion with you then goes immediately into your subconscious and causes a limiting belief or personality.
So you're saying that Trump is narcissistic because of some trauma that happened to him previously?
And if you look at Trump, for example, I'm going to use him, and then everybody could look at it. And if they look at it, anybody that's narcissistic or whatever they are, they will find something in their past. So Trump, for example, we know he's had a lot of divorces, which some of them were very public, especially his first wife. And then there's been some deaths. Like he had there was a couple of helicopter deaths where a lot of his crew died. I don't know if you know that, but if people look back, that was traumatic. All his was a helicopter. All the people in his company died. And there was 2 helicopter crashes. So if you look back, and that's traumatic. I mean, and so that is traumatic. So what happens is then, because it goes in your subconscious, people have to, they get personalities in order to cope. So narcissism is more of a cope of control. So narcissists usually become narcissists because there's some traumatic event in their past, it could be in their childhood even, where they really didn't have control. And this is something that's caused them slowly to then become a narcissist. And it comes from not having control. And a lot of times it also comes from the age until the age of 12, that's where your subconscious is, everything goes down into your subconscious. And even with Trump, I think he had some traumatic events in his childhood. So when we look at that, so that's where narcissism comes from. So why I say that is, it's to recognize that, to see, okay, maybe you don't want to hang around with this person, but use discernment. Recognize there's a reason why they are the way they are. It's the way for them to cope because they don't have the awareness to kind of say, okay, I'm a narcissist. I could change that. I'm acting narcissistically now because of this subconscious limiting belief that I have, and because I didn't have control when I was a young kid, or I didn't have control of things that happened to me in my life. And if you take other, if you take unworthiness, or if you take people, codependency, again, comes from people that perhaps weren't loved and they felt they need the love. So if you take any behavior and you dissect it, you will find a traumatic event happen with emotion.
So I interviewed this incredibly successful lady who had a series of relationships with narcissistic men. And she said it was because she had something happen in her childhood that was abuse related, such that she said that she ended up always being codependent and ending up being in that codependent relationship, even though she hated it. But so she was always the codependent, always looking for a narcissist. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, because, and then, like I said, the ego, which is fear, there's 3 modes, right? Fear, fight, flight, or freeze. That's what fear activates. Fight, flight, or freeze. So if you look at the narcissist, they're fight because they want to fight. They felt no control, so they're fighting. They're always in the fight mode. People that maybe were abused or something like that are going to be maybe more in the freeze. And people maybe that had things happen to them in certain ways might be in the flight. They're always leaving relationships, no commitments, no this, no that.
The runaway bride.
And the people that, excuse me?
The runaway bride.
Exactly. So that's the flight. Now, the freeze is where this lady that you're saying is more the freeze. So she, in her life, I mean, I don't know her, but if you look back into her life and what happened to her when she was young, she felt in a lot of areas, she might have been with abuse of other people, that she had some kind of abuse, and she feels really that she's not worthy. That she's not worthy to have this great relationship. She feels like like the narcissistic, the control is what she feels, and it happens at a subconscious level, right? She's not even aware of it. And that's why she's always attracting these narcissists that are controlling and that are maybe not always abusive, but some might be. But that's why. It's because deep inside, she has this deep-rooted seed of unworthiness. And it's the same with people that maybe want, more than one partner in life. It's always the same thing. Deep down inside, it's a sense of unworthiness where they feel they need the other person to validate them. So it's if you go to your subconscious and you go back, that's where the message is important, because you have to ask the questions in order to get the answers. And once you ask the questions, why am I thinking like that? So if you're judging someone, for example, this is an easy way to do it. So anytime you're judging someone and you're looking at someone and you're thinking, oh my God, that person is, whether they're, whatever you think about them, if there's something negative that you're thinking about them, whether it's about their weight, whether it's about their character or about something, you have to internalize and see, why is this bothering me so much? Because it's not so much about that person. It's more about me, what's happening inside me. And you will find that if you go deep inside, subconsciously, you have a limiting belief. There's something within yourself so if it's about weight, that you're looking at someone and you're judging, it's usually because inside you're really fixated on your weight. You're insecure about your weight. So it's always your insecurities that cause you to judge and look at the other person negatively. Instead, what we have to recognize is go back into the love energy and recognize that we are all the same. And even Brian, and I'm going to go with this also. If people, and what people have to realize, even if somebody's acting badly, let's say whether you have a narcissist, we all have people in our lives. We have narcissists. We have all sorts of people. And it took me a while to recognize this as well. When I'd see someone, I'm very empathetic, so I feel people's energy. When I felt somebody that was unauthentic and kind of like fake and acting, big or whatever, I would get this feeling, almost like every being in my body would kind of shiver. And then I had to go within myself and ask these questions. And why does it bother me so much, right? And then once I studied the different behaviors and why people act and react in a certain way, then it's going back to the empathy, using discernment and not judgment, and saying, you know what, this person is not authentic, but he's acting out of the ego. He doesn't know any better. So this is how you could shift around to forgive people, because forgiveness is key in order for us to have our inner peace as well. Like Putin or whoever you take that's acting badly, he really doesn't know any better.
So you think we should have sympathy for and forgive Putin?
Forgiveness is really for ourselves, not so much for the other person. So yes, for ourselves. I'm not saying we condone him. I'm not saying I want to go have lunch with him. I'm not saying I want to meet him. And I'm not saying what he's doing is right. But yeah, you forgive him by recognizing it's for yourself. Because otherwise forgiveness is a double-edged sword. It will affect you more than the other person. So if you have this anger within you and revenge and you're like, oh my God, Putin, and you're letting yourself boil up, what's happening? When you're acting out of distress, when you're activated and you're not in peace, then you're the one that's going to get sick, right? You're the one that's going to get, when you're not in homeostasis, you're in distress. So what happens? Then that's how people get sick. That's how you get active. That's how you get anxiety. That's how you get all sorts of sicknesses. So yes, we forgive, but not for the other person. Forgiveness is for ourselves in order to achieve that inner peace. And the way you do it, the way I tell my clients to do it, whether it's, we're taking Putin, but it could be a husband, it could be a wife, it could be a child, it could be a neighbor. The way you forgive them, it could be a parent. The way you forgive them is kind of go back and see them as that love energy, that baby child that came from the divine, that came as love energy, but slowly with whatever happened in life, with whatever beliefs they started believing because of that happened, things that were told, things that they were told to believe that were true, then they're acting out of ego. They really don't know any better. So that's how you forgive the other person, just knowing that they don't know any better. They're not awakened, they're not aware. And that's how you kind of bring yourself into inner peace. And again, it doesn't mean you condone them. It doesn't mean you have to go back to the narcissistic husband and get abused. Of course not. I'm not saying that. I'm all about assertiveness. But it's also about achieving the inner peace. So you could cut them out, but it's about recognizing it's within. It's not saying it in your head, I forgive them. It's you have to feel it in your biology, in a biological level where you have to feel it, not just think it. And again, the way you feel it is through your sympathetic nervous system. And this is the keynote. And I teach this, people charge you thousands and thousands of dollars for this tool. If people are listening and really getting the tool. Once you feel your sympathetic nervous system activated, it's your body, it's your authentic self within telling you at that moment, you're activated because you're not acting out of your love energy. There's something that's triggering it. And when something is triggering it, or someone, whether it's a situation or a person triggering you, what you don't realize, people don't realize, is at that moment, you've given all your power away. Let's say you have a little child screaming and crying. What happens? As soon as you start yelling, your power is gone. But if you're in control, the child eventually stops. Don't do it again. So as soon as you get activated and you act and react in that moment, all your power is gone. So the way you are powerful is actually by controlling your sympathetic nervous system and having the wisdom, the awareness to know that's what's happening. Go internally, figure out why you're activated. And then it's all about perception. Shift that perception, whether it's judgment, if it's judgment and assumptions, shift it, and then shift that perception. And that's all it takes. Shift the perception. Once you shift the perception and how you analyze it, how you message it, then everything changes. Then the way you feel change. So I'm not saying not to feel things. I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time. I'm not saying you're not going to yell at people and feel good all the time and tell the other person, call the other people out. So the key thing is you feel it, whatever it is, feel that anger, yell, do whatever you need to do, feel it. But the key thing then is to process it in a manner that's empowering to you, not in a manner that's disempowering and giving your power away, and then let it go. Let it go from within you. So whether it's forgiveness, whether it's using a different perception, if it's in the past, recognize that, okay, you could do better. So take the lessons from whatever traumatic thing happened to you. Take the lessons, learn from them, instead of allowing them to keep a hold onto your subconscious and act like an Achilles heel to you and pulling you back. Because that's what our subconscious does. That's what our fears do. And that's all ego-based. And what it does, it's like, when you take a car and you're driving, Brian, and you wanna go, and you have a brand new car, but it has a flat tire, right? You know where you want to go. You have this, you're all dressed up. You want to go to the party, but you have a flat tire. You can't go anywhere. And it's the same with relationships or whatever you're looking at. And that's how our subconscious acts. It acts like that a flat tire. You're ready. You want to do it, but your subconscious is acting, and you know you have this flat tire, but it's acting like an Achilles heel, always pulling you back to what the traumatic subconscious limiting belief is.
We're chatting today with Maria Fudas about discernment rather than judgment, about having a positive attitude and believing that the universe is love and positive rather than negative. And she quotes Einstein, and that we've got to give ourselves messages to calm down, no, I guess calm down is not the right word, but to discern and to think through our natural triggers to things that happen to us, and not necessarily not get mad, but understand that it's a trigger that's gotten us mad, and that we can to process it and think it through. Fascinating conversation. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to ask Maria how she got into this. Stay with us, everybody. Back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting today with Maria Fudas. She is a book author, a certified assertiveness transformational coach and speaker at something called Maria Fudas Transformation. And she's written a book, Connect with Yourself and Others. And I've read the book. It's a great book. Maria, if people want to get the book, how do they do that? Where is it available?
It's actually available everywhere, Amazon, Chapters, anywhere online. It's also available as an ebook, a Kindle, and everywhere as well. But also Apple is carrying it as an iBook. So you could purchase it anywhere as an iBook or ebook or paperback. And if you want a signed copy, you could always reach out to me anywhere in social media, which is Maria Fudas. That's F like in Frank, UDAS, and send me a message. I'll send you a signed copy.
Maria, it's just such a pleasure listening to you and chatting with you and learning from you. How did you get into this business?
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people are ask me that. And what triggered is actually, I myself, like everybody else, has had stuff happen to me. And like you said earlier, it's not that bad things don't happen or trying things don't happen. It's how you deal with them, which allows you to navigate and to have that internal love and peace. So I had traumatic events happen to myself. And following that is when I started asking the difficult questions, like, what am I here for? Is this all there is? And what's my purpose? I started really questioning myself and my life. What is it that I'm doing that's triggering this negativity, maybe in my relationships or my marriages or whatever? So then I went internally, and it caused me to do a lot of research, books, seminar, whatever. I went into this kind of open, like a sponge, to learn everything that I could. And it really led me to a path of spirituality and also and a way to manifest to actually taught me about manifestation and the law of attraction, and it taught me a different way of thinking and being, and led me to a path to actually be able to master myself. And what that means is it allowed me, through this path, it allowed me to master myself in order to manifest what I want in my life, in order to achieve love and peace from the inside out and success from the inside out. Because again, we have to feel it inside in order to get it on the outside. And then that's what, and then people were always drawn to me to ask me stuff. And that's when I felt that I wanted to help others to achieve the same success that I did. Because if you ask anybody, I am able to control myself, not all the time. If you ask my kids, they're going to say, Mom, you go crazy sometimes. But ultimately, I'm able always to bring myself back. Sometimes it might take me like a couple of minutes, but ultimately I'm able to bring myself back. And that's key. It's not about always being perfect. It's about having the awareness that, okay, I did something and I hurt this person. Now I'm going to apologize. And that's really, and then I wanted to teach other people, and people came to me and I was able to do that. And actually the book was the same reason, but the book was a little bit different that I wrote it because I wanted to write something easy to understand, because through my process of mastering myself, I found a lot of books out there, but they were difficult. Like if you read the Chopra books and you Dalai Lama, and oh my God, I had to get a dictionary to understand what they were saying. They're really difficult books to understand what really they're trying to say, how to be able to shift. They're great books, but I wanted to write something easy, something that I took all the books together. Whether it's, I took the relationship books, the spirituality books, and I wanted to take something all together to put it in something that's not expensive, first of all, and that everybody could pick up and simply understand in simple terms, and not only understand, but also apply, where they could master themselves and learn to live with love and peace. And what I've done with my book is I've put a lot of tools in there and a lot of new perspectives, and part of my methodology for my program that I teach in my coaching. So I put all that in there. So it's really like a little gem where a lot of people, I'm told, use it as a handy book. Or like you said, you've written little highlights. People, put sticky notes and then they go back to it. So this is the kind of book, it's a self-help book, but you could always go back if there's a factor or something that's bothering you. You go back to that section. You say, okay, what's the tool for that? Because every factor really has a tool how to fix it. And so my motivation and my inspiration was to be able to help others to achieve that love and peace from the inside out. Wonderful. And it's true. I heard you mention earlier, is it real? Is it real? Yeah, actually it is. I could say 99% of the time, I'm feeling the peace. It doesn't mean though that I don't have opinions. It doesn't mean that I don't have beliefs. But the difference is the wisdom. And that's what when I talk about is the beliefs. It's the wisdom to know that my belief or my opinion is just a thought. Yeah. That's the difference. So I could have a conversation with you. You could like a certain person, it could be politics, religion, and I could totally disagree. But I have the wisdom not to, it could be a heated argument, not an argument, a conversation. But afterwards, it's like, okay, nice. And I do that with my ex-husband all the time. We have heated, whether it's politics or whatever, different views. And then, I said, good conversation. I enjoyed that, right? Because I get it out. But I have the wisdom to know that it's still just a thought. What people mistake is that they believe that a belief is a fact. A belief, people, is not a fact. A belief is just a thought. It's something that's been told over and over and over again to you, that now you believe it to be true. Take it religion, take politics. You could have an argument to say if the sky is blue or if it's gray. People could get into arguments about anything. Religion, why can't everything be true? Why does it have to be Muslim or Christian? Why can't Jesus not have lived and Muhammad not have lived and Buddha? Why can't everything be true? Why do we have to be stuck in our beliefs that, if you're not Christian, you're going to hell? So that's where the wisdom comes in, to recognize that any belief you have is not a fact. Everything is a perception. And yet when it's a belief that you have, it's just and it's something you've been told, whether it's from your parents, from your school, everything. If you look back, everything, a belief that you have is something that you've been taught.
It's such an amazing attitude you've got and philosophy. But again, where did this come from? So you're saying that some trauma happened. So you weren't like this originally, and then some trauma happened. You started reading a bunch of books, and all of a sudden you changed?
Yeah. And it didn't happen overnight, right? I've got to say. And no, I wasn't like this. Actually, growing up, being younger, I would say more of a little people pleaser. I'm the baby of 7. I have 4 older brothers. So I was pretty much told what to do all the time. So, and I still don't like confrontation, to be honest with you, even though that's why I'm an assertiveness coach, because I had to learn these tools for myself. So everything that I teach, I had to learn for myself. Because I still don't like confrontation. I have to struggle to kind of I have the tools now to use at least, so it makes it easier for me. But it's really things that I had to learn, and that's why I teach them. I had to learn them for myself because I was more of a people pleaser, I would say, where I would just not honor my authentic self and just go with the other person, and just because the other people were stronger, more dominant. So that's why I learned this. But after the events that happened, I've been married twice. For people that don't know, it's not a secret. But my last marriage, I have twins. I have 21-year-old twins now, proud mom, and everything is great. But the second marriage, the ending of that, kind of left me wondering, like, what is it that I did? What could I have done differently? And two marriages, like, what am I doing? So
is that the trauma? Was it the end of the marriage?
Yes, that was the catalyst. My second marriage, the ending of the second marriage was the catalyst. That was the catalyst that drew me more like something's happening. Like, it's got to be me, something I'm doing maybe. What is it? And then not only that, Brian, the other thing was also, when I look back in my life, I recognized everything that I wanted, I got. And that's the other realization when I talk about manifesting. I questioned it because I couldn't understand why everything that I wanted as a young girl, or while I was working, how did everything that I wanted, how did I get it? So I was trying to analyze myself. Am I psychic? What the heck is going on? Am I psychic? Or is it just like, how do I know what's going to happen? And I feel it. For example, when I started working, I was working at CIBC Wood Gundy. I was fully licensed, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all that stuff. I worked as a trader. And then I've gone through different ranks from Montreal to Toronto. When CIBC Investors Edge opened, I was one of the first people there that as a supervisor, working at in both as a supervisor and client relations, because I speak French, but also trading. And then went back to Wood Gundy and the retail. And my dream was, okay, I want to make a certain amount of money, let's say 50,000 back then, or 100,000 by this age. I had the age of 30, let's say, but I achieved it by the age of 25. And so every milestone that I wanted, then I wanted to get, I didn't want to get married again, and I wanted to have 2 kids. And funny enough, I wanted twins, and I wanted a C-section. These are stupid little things, right? And I wanted a C-section.
Why'd you want the C-section?
Marry a certain kind. I don't know. I was terrified of actually having regular birth. I don't know. Okay. I guess I was just the thought of that was like terrifying to me. But these are just little things. And then
so are you psychic?
And I married. Sorry?
Are you psychic? I know you read cards. Are you psychic?
Yeah, so no, what I recognized is it's not really, I'm very intuitive. We're a little psychic, but it's not really that. What it is I went to a path and recognized the law of attraction. We manifest our lives with what we believe and what we want, with emotion. That's how our life comes in. So part of it is a little bit of destiny. But so part of it is destiny. Our authentic self knows where our destiny is. So what I came up to recognize is, and then I went back, I went back and I read Jesus, Buddha, all the different kind of religions to see what they say. And if you look at the masters, Jesus too, he says, you want bread? Here's bread. Here's what are you worried? If you listen to what they all say, talk about manifesting, that whatever you want, you could get. All you have to have is belief in yourself. So I came to recognize that part of it is destiny, but our authentic self, I call it our authentic, you could call it soul, spirit. It's that consciousness, the part that science can't really understand, knows what our purpose is, knows what we need to get, where we need to go, and what our purpose is. And our purpose is to be happy. And the thing is, the good things we want for ourselves, what I've come to recognize, that is our purpose. That is what our life is meant to be. So all the good things we want, that's what it is meant to be. But what happens is our fear, our ego then comes in and says, no, that can't happen. And what the ego and the fear does is always assumptions, always rationalizing, and always analyzing things. Then our ego comes in and says, well, no, I can't have $1 million, or I can't marry, a successful guy. There's no way I'm going to make 100,000. There's no way I'm going to get this job, because you're thinking I'm not good enough. Then it's your subconscious limiting beliefs that come up. And that's what stops you. Otherwise, all the good things you want, that's what your destiny is. So all you have to allow is yourself. You have to allow yourself to align with that great destiny you have.
Okay. So you've used the word authentic self several times and destiny several times. How do you figure out what your authentic or who your authentic self is and what or who your destiny is?
So your authentic self is if you're quiet and you're here, there's always this little voice talking to yourself. People call it intuition. They call it gut instinct. There's this little voice that talks to you. You know, when you're doing something wrong, a little voice comes and says, oh, damn, Marie, you shouldn't have done that. That's your authentic self talking to you. And that's where people haven't connected. That's why I talk about connection in my book. And I talk about that. I give people tools to do that. That's when you connect with yourself, with a real self, with your consciousness. And it's also to make sure you recognize that that's your authentic self and not your ego. And the way to distinguish your ego with your authentic self, which is your soul, your spirit, is your soul, your spirit. And I'll call it authentic self because the other stuff sounds religious and I don't want to go there with people. It will make you feel good. Will always give you the right thing. Your ego will always create fear and cause you to have anxiety or some kind of fear. And that's how you know which voice is real. So, and if you're acting out of the fear or the ego, which is anger, hate, all that stuff, you're going to feel triggered. But when you're acting out of, and your authentic self is love energy. And as you know, I mean, whether people know it or not, we're energetic beings. And what we are is that energy is love energy. So that's what we are. So once we act and react out of that, everything kind of falls into place. What we're saying about the destiny, our manifesting, whether people believe it, people are saying, oh, there's no law of attraction. We don't attract. Everything just happens. And what happens is most people are just like they're in the car, and I'm going to use the car analogy again, and they're just in neutral. They're just going wherever life is taking them. But imagine when you could take your car, getting the steering wheel and say, I'm going to drive there. This is where I'm going to go.
This is where I'm
going. And believe
going.
It without a doubt. And this is where I'm going. And it happens. And whether people know it or believe it, law of attraction, it's there. So whether you believe it or not, you're attracting every single moment. Everything is happening to you. The way you're acting and reacting. If you're judging other people, you have judgments. People are going to judge you. Those judgments are going to come into your life. So whatever you're doing any given time, that's already activated because the universe has laws.
When we first chatted, I didn't really sort of accept what you were saying, but then I remembered I used to play football in high school, and this is going to sound like a silly analogy, but it spoke to me. My football coach always used to tell me that if you look at the tackler, you'll get tackled. If you look at the hole, you'll make it through. And so it's that manifestation. It's that you've got to be focused on what you want rather than the fear of what's going to happen. And then I ended up having a really interesting conversation with a race car driver, and he said the key is that you got to just turn your eyes off of looking at the sides, at the barriers, because if you for a second look at the barrier, bang, you're going to crash and hit the wall. So you've got to only look at where you're going, not at what you're fearful for. We're chatting tonight with Maria Fudas. She's a transformational coach. We're having a fascinating, at least I am, having a fascinating conversation. We're going to take a final break, 2 minutes. We're going to be back. And I'm going to ask Maria for some concluding comments about how we sort of get through all this angst in the world today. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Today, we're being motivated by Maria Fudas. She is a book author, a certified assertiveness transformational coach, and a speaker at Maria Fudas Transformation. She's written a great book. I highly recommend it, called Connect with Yourself and Others. And it really talks about how before you can really love other people, you've got to have this self-awareness and love for yourself and connect with yourself. I've read the book. It's a great book. Maria's joined me, I think, twice before. And you know, Maria, a lot of us are going through a tough time. You know, it's interesting that, you know, what was the person who said it's our whatever, to live in interesting times. We have been living in really interesting times the last 2 years with COVID-19, a once in 100-year pandemic. And then, you know, who knew we were going to have, you know, if it's not World War III, it's damn close to World War III, and the biggest refugee crisis in history. We got climate change, we got inflation, we got gas prices that are up, we got supply chain disruptions, we've got interest rates that they're going up, we got people telling us either we can't afford the homes and or we're going to have a housing crash. Like, it just seems like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world today. How do you get through it all? What's your guidance to people on how to handle it all?
Yeah, what I tell people, Brian, is to try to focus on what they can control and not what they can't control. Because many people, whether it's conspiracy theories, I have people, whether it's mandates and conspiracy theories, whether it's the war or pandemic. Try to focus on what you control and not what you can't control. And control your own space. Like, do what you love. Love the people around you. Surround yourself with good people. Do things you love with love and forgiveness, and don't focus so much on stuff you can't control. And whether it's the war, just do something you can control. Maybe give $45 or $5 to the humanitarian aid. Whether it's COVID, do what you need to do, not to be in fear. A lot of people that I have, some clients that are not vaccinated, they have all this stuff, so they have anxiety there. I say, well, if you don't want to get the vaccine, that's fine. That's your choice. But then forget about focusing on all the stuff you can't control. Bring yourself back and focus on what you can control. You can't go on a plane. Well, you can go within Canada, get on a car and go somewhere. So instead of having anxiety and focusing on all the stuff you can't control, focus on something you can control, because there's so much we can control to bring you love and peace and fun, to have a good life. Because everything else is just going to cause you fear, anxiety, and for no reason, because there's nothing you can do about it anyways.
If someone wants to figure out who their authentic self is and what their destiny is, you talked about listening to that little gut feel, that little voice, but is there a way that you can, like, do you do meditation? Do you go for a long walk? What do you do to figure out what your destiny is?
Yeah. So for me now, it's automatic. That little voice is part of me, and it's part of me forever. And I'm a clairaudient, so I hear it. That's how I do card readings as well, as for anybody that's interested. So I always hear it, like I'm always conscious of it. But the way you practice it, yes, meditation is a way to do it. But it's very simple. Just pause, catch yourself, like I said earlier, if you're activated. Catch yourself, pause, so which means pause, and then take 3 deep breaths inside. You can meditate for 5-10 minutes if you want. That's how you meditate, is by breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and just kind of getting rid of the noise around you. And that's when you're going to hear the little voice. But it doesn't have to be, like, personally, I don't meditate for 15-20 minutes. I can't, I just do it instantly. And then you're going to hear the little voice, the instant voice. It's going to tell you what the answer is, and you're going to hear it. And if it's your heart that's activated, say, Maria, why are you activated? But you've got to clear your mind where it's not, the outside noise is not there. Just clear it. And you're going to hear your heart tell you, Maria, I'm activated right now because I'm nervous or something's going on. And then just take, go ahead.
Will you read a card to end the show?
Yes. Do you want to do it? Do you want to do the forgiveness poem, or we don't have a chance for that?
I don't think we do. So maybe a card
so
to tell us what we're all faced with.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull one angel card out, which is going to give us just a universal message of what the angels have is telling us right now. So I'm going to pull one that's kind of popped up. Okay. So let me just put my glasses on. And it says, you have a gift for working with young people. Oh, wow. Okay. And your divine purpose involves helping, teaching, or parenting children. So this, I know, might sound people that might think, oh, what's the message here? But what the angels are trying to tell you here is that we're all capable to work with other people, whether it's children. And the way the angels see the universe sees children is we're all children. So we all have a way to act out of our homeostasis, out of our love action, out of our love emotion, out of that nature. So what the angels' universal message is, we all have the gift to act out of that, our true nature, which is love, which is, so that love core energy comes compassion, using discernment and empathy, forgiveness. So we all have that power to relay that and to act and react that to the other children, which means the other beings, or brothers or sisters or neighbors. We all have that. So the message here is to act out of our love nature and everything we do.
Maria Fudas, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your destiny, your authentic self with us. We really appreciate it. It's amazing how so much of what you talk about resonates. And while I'm nowhere close to your positive attitude, a lot of what you say is things that I hope to achieve. I love your attitude about what's your Einstein quote about bad universes and good universes?
Yeah, the most important decision you will make in your life is whether you believe you live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe. So make the decision. Hostile
universe or a friendly universe. And so I think that decision is so critically important. I love your comment about that you've got to give yourself messages on a regular basis, that you got to catch yourself when you feel the flight, fight, freeze triggers happening, and think through how you actually really want to respond. I love the idea of manifesting your future, taking time to figure out what your authentic self is and what your destiny is. And this positive attitude that you've got toward yourself, others, and the world. And so thank you so much for sharing with us. I've read Maria's book, Connect with Yourself and Others. I highly recommend it if you get a chance to pick it up. Maria Fudas, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brian. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
That's our show for tonight. I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. You can catch all my podcasts and videocasts after the fact on my YouTube channel, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Apple, Audible, and Speakeasy Podcasts, and SoundCloud too. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.